My name is Mike Mikowski, and I'm the founder of the Ubuntu Focus project. I have a long history using Unix systems for advanced things such as high volume, high availability advertising clusters. I'm the author of a best-selling book on single-page web applications. I'm a physical and product software designer, and I've written vision documents for companies like SnapLogic and SDRC, and I'm a frequent speaker and manager and developer in Silicon Valley for digital products. So today, oh, by the way, if you want to see my shameless self-promotion page, you can get that off of the speaker information on the page for this presentation. So today we're going to talk about the substantial advancements that you can see in Linux desktop. And obviously, we sell Linux laptops preloaded. And what I'm going to share with you today are the secret sauce that we've done, how we've defined what we're trying to do with the product, what's on limits and what's off limits. There's nothing like delivering a product that people rely on every day to kind of help focus the mind on what's really important and how you really have to be pragmatic. So this should be useful for anybody who develops for or deploys to Linux. Okay, so let me get things started here. I threw out my a little backside view here for you folks so you can see the rig that I'm working on, because that was requested when we were doing a little demo earlier. So, all right, so let me close this out and we'll get things started. Okay. There's the title. I do want to mention everything that we have today, you can pick up with an ISO from our website. Here's the location, but if you just look for Ubuntu Focus, you can pick it up. It's freely available. All you have to do is enter your email address and you'll get a newsletter and you'll get the ISO. And if you want to try it, you can. So just an overview, they always say you want to tell people what you're going to tell them before you tell them. So here we go. We're going to talk about why you might want to switch. We're going to talk about the goals of the project for what we've attacked, some design strategies that we've used, and then we're going to do a feature tour. I want this to be very feature-based, so we're not going to spend too much time on the slides. We're going to spend a lot of time on the screen. And then leave a little time for discussion, which means I have to move kind of quickly here. All right, so let's talk about why switch. First of all, if you haven't used Linux in a while, you should know that the desktop is quite mature. In fact, I'm going to show you a desktop that's 2 years old here, but you can see already that it's quite a nice place to live. We've got multiple desktops we can move between, and we have a lot of nice refinements. We've added some additional ones like tiling with a keyboard shortcut, that sort of thing. One thing that Franz had mentioned earlier is there's a clipper here, so I can go back 1,000 points for my clipboard history, which a lot of people find very nice. We have an NVIDIA switcher over here for switching graphics cards with great ease. You know, it's pretty well put together. And the next generation coming up in 2022 is going to be even better. It's pretty amazing, actually. We're working on that now. So there's a mature machine language and developer ecosystem. So obviously, if you're doing big data, you're doing AI, you know, there's a lot of tools that are available. We'll just go back here. I'm actually running IntelliJ here, as you can see. Certainly anything that I run on this system is going to be very representative of what I deploy to. I deploy to Ubuntu LTS systems, and I'm developing on an Ubuntu LTS system. There are other things, like if you're in content creation, my son is working on a Blender model here, which you can see. And so, yeah, very mature. Blender, of course, works great here. Let's move that back over here. One nice thing is that it's representative hardware and environment. I guess the most important thing, like if you're doing deployment for deep learning and machine learning, NVIDIA hardware is pretty much the de facto standard, and that's a very nice thing to have available. If you're working on a laptop that doesn't have that, oftentimes the performance won't be there, or if the performance is there, it won't be representative of the bottlenecks and the strengths of the hardware that you may be deploying to. Not to put too fine of a point on it, but you don't have to work hard to set up a development environment. You don't have to have a separate parallel universe where you have new tools versus your BSD tools. Some people out there, I'm certain, are familiar with this. You don't have to have homebrew or any other kind of weird hack to make things work. You just develop and deploy. There's no context switching. What's really nice is that if you're working in Linux, you can keep thinking in Linux all the way through to deployment. So I guess ultimately what we're trying to do, and what our focus has been on, is saying, okay, it's a better development environment, but what if we can erase all the issues or most of the issues with ease of use and reliability that you see with the Linux desktop environments. So that's been our focus. Hopefully, this isn't a sales job, but I do want to share with you these concepts, and perhaps you can use them in your own life or your own deployments. So let's talk a little bit about the goals of the project. So as I mentioned before, we're focused on pro development with an emphasis on big data and AI with upstream support. So in other words, we're not creating a custom distro. We're not providing a bleeding edge distro. We're not providing hardware where we just slap on a distro. Those are some of our competitors, and that's not what we're doing here. I don't think that's what anybody would want to do if you're looking for a professional workstation. So we want to build on the strengths, and we want to focus on the best out-of-the-box experience. And one thing that's really important here is having a repeatable system that you can use without the need for IT. So as new tools and new capabilities become available, you can get daily upgrades with packages, and things just continue to work and get better. So I want to talk about the design strategy, and then we'll get into plenty of demonstrations. So when we design features for the product, what we want to do is look at a hierarchy where we get the best benefit for the least amount of cost. So we have a preference from top down here on the stack. And then also in the stack, which will be coming here, we have a feedback and implementation loop, okay? And our desire is to feedback to the top of the stack, or as close to the top of the stack as we can. So one of the best ways to have things work for your desk is to buy compatible hardware and do the research for that before you buy. The next tier is where we optimize for the hardware, and we optimize for pre-installed applications. You can write blog articles, and you can write forum posts, but nothing beats just having things work. And so that's our focus. But sometimes you can't have everything just work, or people do things that are in a larger workflow than what you're addressing. And at that time, you need some documentation to help people along. In addition, when things do go wrong sometimes, live support is very useful. And we actually welcome live support because live support, while it's time consuming, gives us the absolute best feedback. And what we try to do then is take anything that we learn from live support and push that back up into tools that we provide for customers and help solve bottlenecks or flaws that they found. And you'll see that in the demonstrations I'm going to give here. So that's the background. Thanks for being patient as I kind of walk through that. But you'll see that little icon here appear in all of these slides as we walk through some demonstrations. So our first one is selecting and optimizing for hardware. So an example of this is like making sure your HDMI works and sound works. Another good example of that is, say, for power management. So I'll go over here and just pull up our power management profile. And if we unplug our system, the power management will drop to low and it will turn off the keyboard lights, for example. And so that's the sort of thing that we want to provide so that people can rely on decent battery life when they're moving around, but then have optimal performance when they're stationary. Another thing we talked about earlier was like the NVIDIA switcher. This is a great idea to make it easier for people to move between things, move between graphics cards, I should say. And another thing that we've added, this was based on consumer feedback. We found that extra kernels were being installed in developer systems and filling up the disks. So we provided a kernel cleaner that will notify you when there's too many kernels installed and help you clean it up without breaking your system. So this is the best level for us to do things at. If we can solve problems by selecting hardware up front that doesn't have any problems, then we're going to have one of the better experiences. Moving on. Sorry about that. I got a phone call. Don't worry, I won't take it. All right. Another thing we do, and you may want to consider doing this as well, is we work to orchestrate GPU libraries and kernels. What that means is that before a kernel goes out to our customers, we actually vet it and make sure that it's capable of providing a series of capabilities, such as like Bluetooth connections and sound and video, etc. Once that's confirmed, then we push those out. These are upstream kernels, which means you get all the upstream benefits, but we do a double check before they're distributed to the customers so that things don't break unexpectedly. We also do some pinning on the GPU libraries, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that's the kind of vetting that we provide upstream. And we think that it's a good thing. Like if you're deploying within your organization, you'll certainly want to do something along the same lines to make sure that your kernels and your upstream software are working well. This is not a common occurrence, but it does occasionally happen, and we take steps to prevent that. So let's talk about best-in-class apps. This is another great example of if you give somebody the ability, you teach them the ability to fish, then they're set for life. It's kind of similar here with applications. So let's take a look at what I mean by that. So here we have an applications page, and We can launch, just about anything here. If I want to, open up another video viewer, or I want to launch, say, Steam, I can click here on this website and it will launch that application for me locally here. And Steam isn't just about games anymore. We actually have customers that use simulations that are distributed via Steam. But because we've done that GPU library work, we're able to load up these obviously GPU heavy applications from Steam and just use them out of the box. Another thing we can do is click on, say, FileZilla here. And notice this isn't installed, but we're prompted to install it. So this is great because you don't have to go and find your package manager and figure out how to install something. You can just click and be done with it. And at that point, when this is finished, we should see FileZilla just show up. And there it is. Right? So we do quite a bit of work to ensure that the apps that are recommended here are popular, reliable, and a good fit for the customers. And again, if you're doing a deployment and you want to help make everyone productive, I think that's the sort of thing that you want to do for any applications that you preload on the systems that you distribute. Another thing we do is coordinate repositories. Again, something that you'd want to probably set up for anyone that's running a desktop. Third parties provide software packages for LTS versions of software distributions, like in this case, 20.04 from Ubuntu. And you want to get that upstream software because it's supported directly by these third parties. So let's take an example of that. Let's see. We have, for example, Microsoft Code. Okay, so this is the very popular VS Code editor, or Studio, I should say. And here I'm just prompted for my password. And now I'm able to launch that. And I'm not just getting VS Code from any old place. I'm getting it from the official third-party repository with GPG key pre-installed. And so there you go. When I close that, I should see VS Code launch. So there's a lot of vetting that goes on to make sure that you're getting the right software from the right location without a lot of drama. One thing we also like to arrange is for an app to be available and running out of the box in its best possible way. The philosophy is that we'll provide useful defaults for people who don't know any better, but people who do know better or have a preference can easily change it or use what we provide as a starting point. Here's a great example, actually. Is the backup system. When you first open the system, you get a backup, and within a few seconds, you could just take a snapshot, and you'll begin taking hourly snapshots. And it's not just configured to take that one snapshot, but it takes it hourly, and then you can see that I have hourly from yesterday, and then I have weekly, and then I have monthly. So it auto prunes those backups. It also avoids things like your GitHub directory or extremely large files so that you don't overfill the disk. So this is a nice thing to have out of the box. Another thing that is useful is KeePassXC. And this kind of hides in the background, but once you've got it set up, and our first run wizard helps you set it up, which we'll be talking about in a moment here. But let's get an example of that. It's already set up for web browser integration. So, and it can be used to share with your browser. And it also is useful with your phone. KeePassXC is available across multiple devices. That's one of the reasons why we selected it. It's mature, it's got a strong community, and it's portable. And so for those reasons, we've preloaded it here. Now, maybe you don't like KeePassXC, and that's fine. But if you don't care about a password manager, we're providing one out of the box and recommending one that maybe it's not the best solution for everyone, but it's a pretty darn good solution, and it's a great starting point. If you're interested in this sort of thing, or if you're interested in security. All right, and I should mention that whenever we do one of these configurations, and again, another recommendation for any deployment is you should prefer to use system configurations as opposed to using user configurations from, say, Skell. For those in the crowd here who administered Unix systems, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get back to that presentation, eh? You can see here as we're progressing that we're moving further and further down that hierarchy, that stack, because you can't do everything in hardware optimization, obviously. In this case, we're getting closer to the user. And here, what we're talking about is helping people get assimilated and to use their system in the best possible way. So what we have are widgets and wizards. So the widgets are in the top right-hand corner here, and the wizard appears when people first log on, which you see there. So let's take a look at some of the things that it's useful to know about. So I can press a button here, and that then hides all my windows, and I can now take a look at this widget. There's actually 12 different panels here to help guide you through desktop and application shortcuts, as well as Vim and Bash RC, if you're into that kind of thing. And so one thing we can do here, for example, is zoom in my desktop, or I can locate my mouse. By the way, this isn't something we coded. This is stuff that's just basic in the KDE desktop today. And quite frankly, this is the reason why we've chosen Kubuntu with the KDE desktop, because it's very familiar and very powerful. And if I want to tile windows, which I can do, let's bring them back here. We'll take this and tile this window to the top corner here, or move this over here, tile this way. This sort of capability is all built in. Okay. So again, just trying to help people be as productive as possible out of the box. Nothing, of course, is set in stone. If you want to change it, you're free to.
Yeah, this is an incredible setup. I don't know if people realize how much the out-of-the-box experience is just purely awesome.
Wow.
I remember it's every time I talk to you, Mike, I think of my early days when I was in college in the mid 90s, where you would just buy the correct hardware. We were not even thinking about software, right? So we were just trying to make it work. And then here you've got everything at the push of a button. So I don't know if people have any questions because we've got 3 minutes left, and I know that we started a little late with Mike, but anyone has questions?
While we're waiting, let me.
Yeah, you can continue to demo it. I mean, where people just just pop in or send me your questions. I know that people are sending me questions directly too. So just
There's something that's very handy for people that we found from a lot of feedback from people. One of the things that machine learning professionals often need to do and are not very well equipped to do usually is switching their GCC compiler from one version to another. It can be a daunting task that requires an hour or two of research. Here, it's just a click of a button away. Another good one is a power profile, like we mentioned. I can say I want to move this to studio speed, and now that gives me a nice power balance. Another great one that I like a lot is, how do I get tear-free video? So I can do bid sync, for example, here. And here, with the click of a button, I can synchronize video across all displays at the same time. So I think those are all worth looking into. I notice we're getting further down the stack here.
Did you mention, I may have missed it, but did you mention the optimization for the NVIDIA drivers that you have?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
There's just a lot to present, so
yeah,
I was hoping to snap through this pretty quick. There's a deep learning suite that's available with the click of a button. This is actually weeks worth of work in its own right. But if you click on this deep learning suite, boom, it installs Anaconda. It does all of the GPU acceleration for you, ties in all the libraries. It runs TensorFlow. It runs PyTorch. It runs MXNet. It runs Jupyter Notebook, and it verifies that everything is running. So you get the machine, you open the lid, you run this, in 10 minutes, you've got a good working Anaconda system that can tie into PyCharm. By the way, we also have integration to JetBrains as well. So if you're a user of JetBrains like IntelliJ or PyCharm, you're in great shape.
Sorry, I have a question.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Michael, this is incredible. I've been installing Debian, I've been installing Slash, I've been installing Red Hat, I've been modifying it to my needs, and it's hours and hours and hours of customizing. I love those hours. Yeah, but we've been talking, we got to know each other 2 days ago, and you show me what you've done, and I was just amazed. I was just flipping about how much thought you put into selecting the applications and packaging the applications. I mean, this is just the backup feature is worth like 10 hours, 15 hours of work of configuring. I mean, Windows doesn't get it right. Mac has a problem there, and you just deliver that out of the box, just like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually had at one point put the amount of time that it might take somebody to do this, but it's really kind of a slippery slope because, how well are they going to do that? Right. You can do kind of a hack job to get your system running. But the challenge with the hack job, which I've seen many, many people do, and in fact, the reason why I started this was I spent a decade in Silicon Valley working in different offices. And I saw people spending time on their Macs reworking them to make them work for deployments. And I saw people on their Linux boxes reworking them to make them a smoother user interface experience. And I said, why can't we bring the both together? Why can't we have the best out of the box developer and deep learning experience in the world on a Linux station that is also completely or very nearly completely compatible with deployment environments? So you lose the expense of either of those optimizations that people are spending an inordinate amount of time with, that nobody actually wants to admit how much time they're spending on.
It is amazing. I just can't repeat it enough times. What you've done there, and the starting of your presentation when you had that back camera on your setup. I mean, that was like 3D rendering, printing all together. It was just mind blowing. Eh? That was guys. I've got to stop you. I know that. Sorry. It's difficult to stop you guys when you're passionate about something. I've experienced that first touch. Okay, Mike, it was great as usual. Thank you so much.
Artificial intelligence,
data, analytics,
user group,
AIDAUG.
Join AIDAUG today.